Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks exciting to you guys, please carry on and watch the video. Oh, and just one more thing before we go. Please consider like, commenting, and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. But now with all that out of the way, let's carry on with the video. Okay, so the first paint we're going to be applying to the miniature is Barbarian Flesh, and we're going to be, of course, using it for the skin tone, the base skin tone of our model here, which is Rath Modar from the Tyranny of Dragons Gale Force 9 set. So, starting off the skin with a nice base tone that we've got here, and as well as that, just before we started, we also gave the miniature a zenithal prime, so that's starting off with black, and then quickly priming over top with the white to give it those natural highlights. Their time to shine, and makes it a lot easier while we're painting the miniature to see where we want to put those highlights for later on, as it's constantly in your mind. Okay, so once we have that base color of our skin down, we're going to come in now with some ivory, and we're just going to be using this for one small part on the miniature at the moment, and that's to be picking out his teeth. He's got this nice wide open mouth, and you can see his teeth coming through, so we just want to be picking those out. So a nice fine tip brush is good for this, and just keeping a steady hand. As you can see, I'm bracing one hand on another to try and keep my hand as steady as possible while doing this. And then once we've picked up those teeth, we can now come in with some highlighting for the skin, so we don't have to worry about accidentally getting any of that highlight color on that part of the miniature now. So coming in, of course, with some kobold skin, which is a nice lighter tone compared to the barbarian flesh we're just using here. And we want to be placing it on those areas that are naturally going to hit the sunlight. So we want to be aiming for the top of the head, the eyebrows, the tip of the nose, tip of the fingers, that sort of thing. Just really paying attention to where that zenithal highlight was giving our quick bit of detail there. We just want to be picking out most of those sort of areas. And then once we've finished that up, we're going to be painting with some mephiston red, and this is going to be for the majority of the color of the miniature here, since Rath Modar is a red wizard of Thay. They are notoriously known for, of course, their red robes that they wear. So we want to be picking out a nice sort of deepish red for this, and mephiston red is going to be a good base for this. I didn't want to go light because we want to highlight it up eventually, so we don't want to start too light. So that's why I've gone with mephiston red. It's quite a nice, deep, vibrant red, and it's going to be good for covering over the areas. Now remember, red is quite a thin paint, so it's going to take quite a few coats. By the end of it, I think I've used pretty much 3 coats of paint overall to really get a nice finish on all the surfaces that we need to paint red. Then once we've got that red painted up, we're going to come in now with some burnt umber. And this is just for a nice small part of the miniature, and that is going to be our wizard's boots. So nice and easy to pick out here, but you just want to be a little bit careful since his cape, or not his cape, his robe, sorry, really flowy and wrap around the boots. You just want to make sure you get in there with a smaller brush if you need to get into those small tight little areas with the boots. And once we've done that, we're going to come in now with some necromancer cloak. And what I'm doing with the necromancer cloak is I'm going to be painting some of his underclothes that he has here. He's got basically like an undershirt picked out underneath here, and I'm going to be doing that in the necromancer cloak. Now this isn't in the official artwork. He Red Wizard of Thay pretty much wears all complete red. I wanted to add a little bit more color than just red onto the miniature, so by putting the necromancer cloak in here, it's still going to give him that dark evil feel since he is a bad guy, and it's going to help add a little bit more visual interest to the piece overall once it's finished. Then now with that undershirt complete, we're going to come in now with some royal purple. And royal purple, we're going to be using it to be painting his staff, just the main shaft of the staff. We're going to be leaving that nice centerpiece and the 2 little bits at the end as well. But don't worry too much, we will be painting over it if you do happen to go on it, but we want to be focusing on the main shaft as it is at the moment. Anyway, with that nice royal purple is going to help really pop out with some added interest and colour from the reds that we've got going on here. Then once we have that complete, time to go in for our second major colour of this miniature, and that's going to be greedy gold. Red Wizards of Thay, they are always in their red and gold robes, red robes with the gold trim around them, and Rath Modar being a special sort of character you can meet in Tyranny of Dragons. He has a sort of a little bit of golden armour to show off his more importance, so we want to make sure we do that justice, and starting off with greedy gold is going to be good. Greedy gold is quite a nice deep dark gold, so it's going to be nice for the base color that we want here. And as well as that, we also want to be painting up just the ends of our staff as well, and really making sure that we spend the time, because the little tips and trims he has everywhere. We want to be picking those out with gold as well. So make sure you spend your time doing the gold step. And then once you have all that gold work done, we're going to come in now with some brassy brass. This isn't on the actual original miniature. This is just something I wanted to add in for a little bit of difference in color. And I'm just going to be painting the middle of his staff that he's holding up with that brass in there as well, making sure that we get a little bit of visual difference in some of the piece as well. I didn't want it just to be gold and red. That's why we've broken up with royal purple and having our undercloak here. And I'm just going to place a little bit on this dangling part as well, just to add in that little bit more of a visual piece, especially when you're looking at it up close. It's going to look a little bit samey from a distance. Brass and gold are similar colors, but when you're up nice and close, you're going to be able to see those differences there. Then once we have that complete, we're going to come in now with some dragon red. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be applying to some of those highlights for the areas on his robes. So as you can see, he's got a lot of nice flowing robes and they're sort of blowing in a slight breeze. So it's not too bad to pick out those high points that we want. We'll be aiming for those tops of the folds, really picking out sort of the center of those pieces that are coming out and flowing out. Not so much focusing too much on the deeper parts, so we want to be avoiding sort of the deep curves and stuff like that. We're aiming for more of those high points. It's going to be especially noticeable on the back as well with the nice flowing edges. We're really mainly aiming for those top bits that are really flowing and peeking out and hitting the sunlight. And then once we have that picked out, we're going to come in now with some ivory once again, and we're just going to be picking out one other small little piece. We're just going to pick out this little tassel he has here on the front of his robes, just to add in that nice bit of visual interest when you're looking at the piece from a distance. Then once we have that complete, we're going to come in now with some bright green from Vallejo, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be picking out the center gems on his staff that he has here to really add in some more color to the piece, because like I said, I'm trying to avoid a lot of the very reds and gold that this miniature is represented in the artwork. I want to add in just a little bit of flair and color with my style, really trying to keep it a little bit more visually interesting, especially when you see it on the table at a distance. And then once we have that complete, time for the last piece we have of the miniature left, which is the fire in his hand. So starting off with a nice flat yellow to base coat this miniature, so it's the fire is hottest from sort of the bottom of his hand, so we want to be starting off with our base color of the yellow, which is going to be the hottest color. I'm going to work our way up and trying to give off a realistic red effect. And this is why I've been adding in some other colors here as well, since there's also fire in his hand, so it's another thing to be red and a gold color with the yellow in there as well. Then once we have that, while the paint is still just a little bit wet, I'm coming in with some orange now, and I'm just going to be placing it on the higher points because I want that fire to be hottest at the bottom and coming up towards the dark red point as well, to keep that separated from his clothes and everything as well. And as well as that, we also want to try and keep the realistic fire effect. I'm still learning on painting fire and trying to make it look realistic, and this is ways that people have told me and I've seen online to at least start off with making it look semi-realistic, and then as you can see here, coming in with red as the final point on there, really just picking out a lot of those flame swirls that are on the edges for that. And then once we have that complete, what we're going to be doing now is coming in with some reikland fleshshade, and we're just going to be applying, as fleshshade suggests, applying that wash to his flesh to really tie it in together. And since we already have those highlights placed on there, it's going to try and merge them a little bit with the same wash over top. It's a new sort of technique I'm trying out, is applying all the highlights in that first, then going over with the wash and trying to make it look a little bit more blended than having to spend so much time trying to blend things. I'm not good at blending at the moment, so I'm just learning other ways to try and add sort of depth and stuff in the miniature, especially when you're looking at it from a distance, without having to put in a heap of work to try and get it like that. And then once we've done that, it's time to move on to our robes that we want to be washing up, as well as a lot of the rest of the miniature. So we're going to be using nuln oil to do this. I want a nice dark, deep, sort of sinister look with him, since he is a bad guy in the book he comes from and the miniature that he's based on. So I want to try and emphasize this. So we're going with a black wash rather than just adding in a red wash or something like that, try and give that evil dark appearance in the shadows. And I'm going to be quite heavy with this wash, By the end of it, you'll see I'm probably a little bit heavier than I would have wanted to, but I just want to be applying this a little bit heavier, and then I'm going to come back in with some highlights and bring it back up so we've got those nice deep shadows in the miniature. And then once we have that black wash completed, we're going to come back in with some mephiston red now. And as you can see, I went a little bit darker than I was expecting. So I'm having to come back in and do quite a lot of highlighting, so maybe don't quite go so dark on the wash. And also one thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, when I were applying the reikland fleshshade to the flesh, you want to make sure you apply the reikland fleshshade to the gold areas as well. This is up to you. This is just to add in a bit more vibrancy to the gold. You could just go over it all in the nuln oil. I forgot to probably mention it when I was doing it. I applied reikland fleshshade to all the gold areas as well while doing his skin. So this is just an optional step. Depends on what sort of look you want to go for. And I wanted to make that gold pop a little bit more. And as you can see, I overdid it maybe a little bit too much with the nuln oil here. So I'm going to have to come in and bring it back up a little bit. But it's going to help make our shadows look really cool in the end. And then once we've highlighted those red robes back up, I'm going to come back in with royal purple now and just place a nice sort of edge highlight on that staff. So I'm basically just going to be applying it just from this one angle, as you can see here, where it looks like the sun or any light coming off and illuminating this part of the miniature is sort of just going to come shine off and give it this one highlight. And with the nuln oil, it's going to really help sell the sort of roundness effect from this one angle anyway. And then once we've done that, time to come in with some retributor armor and highlight up our gold details. Retributor armor is quite a lot lighter gold than our greedy gold we're using, so I wanted to give off that, nice, bright, shiny appearance, and retributor armor is going to help with that. And I'm aiming for all the edges, as well as some of the major flat pieces on the miniature as well, just avoiding the indent and sort of design marks he has on his armor panels in there as well, because I'm trying to make it like it's bright, glowing, golden armor. So we want to be aiming for those areas where the sun is naturally going to bounce off and give that way more reflective piece in the miniature. And with all that complete, we have finally finished painting up Rath Modar from the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures range from Gale Force 9. So I hope this has been useful for you guys, whether you want to follow along and try and copy the official artwork like I have here with a few other twists, or you just enjoy me painting up some cool miniatures. But with all that said, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.